Women on Wealth is proudly sponsored by First for Women, celebrating leading women.
These are women on a mission, cycling over 600 kilometers in just 4 days to raise money to fight crime in South Africa. This is Women on Wealth, and I'm Nozipho Mbanjwa. Tonight we profile two women taking part in the Change a Life cycle tour. That's Gauteng Health MEC Qedani, Mahlangu, and Diane Radley. She's the Chief Executive of Old Mutual Investment Group South Africa. We also speak to the future of the African Daughter Project founder Gqibelo Dandala about how to change the lives of girls living in townships and rural areas. And in Power Redefined, we bring you philanthropist Graca Machel. A group of 65 of South Africa's leading business executives set off this week on the 7th Change a Life cycle tour to raise funds to combat crime. Before they hit the road, I spoke to two of the women taking part, Old Mutual Investment Group South Africa CEO Diane Radley and Gauteng Health MEC Qedani Mahlangu, and I began by asking them to share the story behind the cycle tour.
It started with Mike Thompson being brutally murdered in his home in Hurlingham about 7 years ago. And he was employed by Computershare, who decided they needed to do something about the crime situation in South Africa. And hence, Change a Life Cycle Challenge was born. It was very much focused on getting the CEOs of the big listed companies, of which the majority were clients of Computershare, involved in something where they could combine their passion with making a difference to South Africa.
MEC? And what about this particular story struck a chord with you and led you to decide to be a part of this?
I mean, you'd know for a fact that many South African women and children experience crime-related activities of one kind or the other. And I thought it was important for me, as someone who's also involved in leadership, to partake in this process as the organization, amongst others, of its charity beneficiaries, is a rape crisis center in Khayelitsha and many others that we support. So it's important to really take part in something that is contributing towards people who've been affected adversely so by crime-related activities.
Let's get to the nuts and bolts of the challenge. What does this commitment actually mean? Are we talking about a one-day event, or is this a longer-term commitment?
It's definitely blood, sweat and tears, 365 days a year. But the nice thing for me as an executive is I can combine my exercise with training for the cycle challenge, and also I can get my family involved. So my daughter rides with me because it involves a commitment at least 3 to 4 times a week in the morning. But again, as I said, you combine your passion with what is really meaningful and valuable to you, and my family is involved in that as well.
But where do you ladies find the time? I mean, MEC, from running government to finding the time to get onto the bike, how do you fit this into your daily routine?
It involves greater discipline. What do I mean by that? We have to be up at 4 in the morning, get on the car to drive to where you're going to meet your team. We start riding at 5, we finish at 7, we do a 40-kilometer loop. On Saturdays we do a 60-kilometer loop. Again, we've got to start at 6:30 because of traffic and all of those. So it's a dedication and commitment, but the difference is you are committed to training. On the other hand, there are benefits to you as a person, which you look better and you lose weight and all of that.
But there's a symbolism behind this, and yes, there is a very strong charity component of this particular challenge, but it's also speaking a lot about women who are stepping up to the plate and actually saying, yes, it can be done. I can balance it as best that I can.
I think also if we look at some of the projects that we're involved in, the DNA project, for example, which plays a very pivotal role in ensuring rapists are convicted. And we collect DNA at various crime sites, and it goes a long way to ensuring that the convictions are upheld. And also closer to home, I live in Cape Town. I have sympathy for Dot having to deal with almost sub-degree temperatures sometimes in winter, and us with the northwester in Cape Town and the rain. But for us, we have the Change a Life Rape Crisis Centre, which we're supporting in Cape Town. helping to rehabilitate rape victims back into the community and dealing with some of the pain and anguish that they've dealt with. And for me as a woman, to be involved in that and to make a meaningful difference is very important. And I like the fact that as we go through training and we get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and we do what needs to be done, we have a greater vision in sight and it gets us out of bed. And also the camaraderie we have amongst all of the people in the team, and lots of the guys have done it for almost 7 years. Yeah. It gets you out of bed, it makes you want to go, it makes you want to share views and ideas and really just, you know, share the outcome together.
Let's talk about how we get other people involved, MEC. If you were to have a word of encouragement to ladies who oftentimes think that they can't take on something of this nature, how do we change that mindset?
We should remember where we come from, where women had no rights that they have today. They were secondary citizens. You have to be married to be able to enjoy rights and benefits. Today we live 20 years down the line, we live in a much more democratic society where women have this equal rights as men do. Of course, that brings a lot of challenges. That's why we see escalated violence against women, because men feel inferior. So what I'd like to really achieve over a period of time as part of changing other people's life is to really become these people to encourage people to learn from me, or how to balance things and never allow obstacles to stand before you for you to achieve anything. And particularly, I like to see more young girls and women getting more confidence instead of sitting at home, I do not have any choices and all of those things, to get out and just explore and do things by themselves. And that's what I really would like to see, just to motivate and get women to be self-sustainable and do things on their own.
The future of the African Daughter Project's vision is to create a community of brilliant, independent and self-assured young women who will be the leaders of tomorrow and active participants in South Africa's economy. I sat down with the founder, Gqibelo Dandala, to find out how to break down the challenges that face the African girl child.
I think first and foremost, the biggest challenge that we face as women, not just the girl child, just daughters of Africa, irrespective of age, is the issue, one, of leadership, and two, self-esteem. And those two are very closely linked in that we do have the potential to be leaders. In fact, our communities, our countries, our continent needs us to become leaders. We've got the capability, and it's just about believing it. It's not even about recognizing it because it's there, it's just about believing it. So our work is about saying, girl child, you are capable. And all that we are there to do is to help them in that self-discovery process.
Now, the concept of self-belief in itself can be a little bit intangible. Yes. How do you practically instill this in another person?
Okay, so the first thing is that we make them see that they are capable. So we focus on the academics and we give them assistance. And the whole idea is for them to see that, you know what, with a little bit of assistance, I can actually go really far. And then the second one is that we focus on the personal development, and there we focus a lot on life skills and leadership. And what we do there is that we put girls in situations where they have to overcome something that they previously thought they could not overcome. And slowly but surely, as you do that, the self-confidence starts to kick in. And at some point then they start to realize that actually I am more capable of more than what I realize. And it's not an overnight process. It's not something that just happens, you know, even over 2 weeks. It's something that takes time. It's something that takes reinforcement and reinforcement of the same message over and over. And that's why our program is minimum 1 year long or longer.
And how do you target the beneficiaries of the program?
We specifically work in rural areas and in townships as well. And even there, we make sure that we get the girls through schools, and it's through the no-fee paying schools, because in that way we know that we really are targeting kind of the bottom of the pile in terms of resources and all of that. Because again, you know, just not coming from a privileged economic background, that has its own psychological effects on the self-esteem. And so when we get those girls, we know that we have a tough battle ahead, but it is a battle that we know we can overcome with time.
Well, it's a battle that sounds like it obviously needs one girl child at a time.
Absolutely.
But let's talk about the size and the scope of the program. How big are you and where are you hoping to grow to?
We currently have 240 girls on our program. So we have 3 chapters across Gauteng. We have 1 chapter in rural Eastern Cape in Dujwa. And where we are going is to say by end of 2016, we need to have a presence in at least 2 other provinces. But at the moment, we are targeting specifically rural areas. We do have the kind of urban township in Gauteng, and we've recognized that the need is even greater in rural areas. So in terms of scope, 2016, at least 4 provinces. But our big long-term focus is 2020, where we are saying between now and 2020, we actually want to touch girls across the continent in various ways. And one of them being the African Daughter Dialogues, which is a conference we're planning for next year, where we invite girls, similar profile, rural areas, but from across the continent, to start, number 1, dialoguing on these issues, 2, having the conversation with them saying, actually, you are what we are looking for. You are capable. Now we need you to start stepping up.
Any success of a project of this nature will always be judged on the basis of its alumni.
Absolutely.
Do you have a success story that you can say, this is a product of our program?
Absolutely, quite a few in fact. Many of our girls as we speak are in university, but there's one in particular that I'll highlight today. Ordinary girl, she came from Deep Sloot. When she joined our program, she was in grade 10. She was not even doing well at school. She was getting 38 for maths, 42 for physics. Both parents are unemployed. This is someone in whose family nobody has ever gone to university. So the prospects were pretty dim. As we speak, this is someone who we secured a bursary for. She's doing her 2nd year at UCT, and she's doing engineering. At the end of matric, she got a distinction in maths and 76 in physics. And it wasn't so much about us giving the lessons and giving them books and all of that, but at some point, something in her clicked. And she realized that actually she does not need to be defined by her background. Her background is simply that, her background. But where she was going, she could define. And it was after 3 years on our program that this finally clicked. But it's just been amazing to watch her. And we've got many other similar girls who've just been going from strength to strength.
Every week we bring you a woman who is flexing her power muscles on the global stage. Let's take a look at one of the most influential women on the African continent, Graca Machel.
Machel is recognized for her dedication to educating the people of Mozambique and for her leadership in organizations devoted to the children of her country. She has been a major force in increasing literacy and schooling in Mozambique and has spoken of the needs and rights of children, families and community from platforms all over the world. As Minister of Education to her then government, she was able to reduce the illiteracy rate by 72%. In 2010, Time magazine named her among the world's 100 most influential people.
And that's all we have time for this week's episode of Women on Wealth. Thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget to talk to us on Twitter, following me at Nozipho Mbanjwa and using our hashtag #Wow410. We'd like to know who is redefining the concept of power in your world. Until next time, stay empowered.